Welcome in, along with Mike Renner. I'm Steve Palazzolo. Today discussing our PFF draft board risers. And of course, you guys can check out the entire draft board video right here on our YouTube page. It's all brought to you by Eckrich, the official smoked sausage of the college football playoff. And don't forget, check out this list of games. You can still sign up for their $1 Million Challenge. It's coming to a city near you, and perhaps you want to go to the national championship game. You can sign up right now, EckrichFootball.com, for the $1 Million Challenge. All right, I've brought in Mike Renner, our defensive line front seven expert. Is that right?
Expert's a little hard, a little favorable, but I'll take it.
I like your opinions when it comes to the front seven. So I just want to discuss. There's a lot of guys on the defensive line in this top 32, and a lot of guys moving up. We're only 8 weeks into the college football season, but we've seen a ton of very productive first halves for certain players. So let's discuss some of the guys that have moved up a ton, starting with Quinnen Williams from Alabama. I highlighted him on the main draft board video, but what have you seen from him on film? He's moved up from number 16 to number 5 on our draft board.
Well, I don't think anyone's moved up over the course of the season more in the entire college football landscape than Quinnen Williams. He wasn't even on really the NFL radar. He had been talked about as if he was the guy replacing Devon White, a first rounder a season ago, but that was really all you had to, that was really the only expectations out of him in Alabama's this D-line factory. But he's been the best defensive tackle in the country. He's been better than Ed Oliver. He's been better than Jeffrey Simmons. He has been fantastic for that Alabama defensive line, and compared to a lot of the Alabama defensive line that have come out in years past, I think he's more athletic. I think he has a skill set that can win in a number of different ways, and he plays a lot on the nose tackle, so that's going to be very favorable for NFL teams. Everyone's looking for that nose tackle that can push the pocket. He can rush the passer from the nose tackle better than probably any draft prospect we've seen in our years of doing this.
Yeah, well, you mentioned all the former Alabama offensive linemen. We're talking about guys like A'Shawn Robinson, Jaron Reed, you mentioned Devon White, but is he the closest, Williams, is he the closest to Jonathan Allen? Because Allen was a little different as well because he could rush the passer.
Allen, I think, they're different in terms of Allen won a lot with skill, hand placement, technique. It was very technically sound coming out. Quinnen Williams, I think, is a little better athlete than Allen was, can win with speed and with his technique. So from that perspective, I like Williams a lot.
So Williams has the traits that scouts are going to be looking for.
Full skill set, yeah.
The full skill set, but also the production. The number 1 graded interior defensive line against the run, and then number 2 as a pass rusher. Absolutely the biggest breakout star so far this season. Sticking on the defensive line, a guy that we highlighted before the season, Brian Burns from Florida State. We highlighted him as an athlete, potentially a project.
Yes.
Wasn't incredibly productive last year, but now 46 pressures, leads the entire nation. It's pressures. He has a ton of sacks. He's getting after it this season.
Yeah, I think I remember telling you he looked like a guy who could have a big year this year, take a big jump forward, because he played last year at around 230 pounds, 6'5". It's a glorified wide receiver at that point. I think he put on 20 or 30 pounds, got a lot bigger, stronger this year. You could see the explosiveness last year, very twitchy. Now he's matched it with some power, some pop behind that explosiveness. He has technique as well, can win in a number of different ways, doesn't take himself out of plays, can win late as well with his hands. So a lot to like from him. He's definitely moving up boards.
Yeah, he went from number 24 on our board up to number 14 on the latest board. And now we've got a few players that weren't on our first run back in September. Some of them were close, some of them came out of nowhere. But let's look at Byron Murphy from Washington, a cornerback, getting away from the defensive line for a second. But he's a guy, great movement skills, and 12 pass breakups right now, 3rd in all of college football.
Yeah, the movement skills pop right off the tape at you. He's so smooth down the field, never gets himself into bad positions. Always seems like no matter if it's a double move, different routes down the field, he's always on top of them, always playing with balance. So that perspective, very good. Not even undersized, only 5'11", 183 pounds. That definitely shows up on tape. I don't necessarily want him playing press man coverage, and he doesn't there at Washington a lot. He plays a lot of off zone, but his breaks on the balls from that sort of, from that alignment, very good as well.
Whew, man, I'm stuffed.
Me too.
Man, I think I could have taken you back in the day.
Taking me where? What are you, 140?
Maybe. I had some game.
You're talking about flag football, right?
Nope. Paper. I'd whip your tail in paper football.
You carry around a paper football?
Every day. I don't leave home without it.
Kick it off, big boy.
You're on.
Eckrich. Get Saturday done right.
And now back to the trenches. We have Josh Allen from Kentucky, a guy that we've highlighted quite a bit here on this channel, having an excellent season. You know, from just a pure college football production standpoint, he's been one of the best players in the entire country, the #1 graded pass rusher on the edge. He plays kind of a traditional 3-4 outside backer role for Kentucky. He's dropped into coverage almost 100 times this season, but a productive pass rusher, good against the run. But what does his pro projection look like? We just put him at number 20 on our draft board.
That's the biggest thing, because he's almost in the Hassan Reddick mold, the Dante Hightower, where I'm not sure if you're drafting him as a pure edge rusher and asking him to go up against, 6'8", 300-pound tackles, if he's going to win consistently, if he's going to be that guy. But if you play him in an off-ball role, and we've seen him make great plays in coverage, he can definitely do that. He's a fantastic athlete. If you're blitzing him against running backs, if you're blitzing him against tight ends, he's going to get the job done repeatedly. So if I was a sort of a hybrid weapon, I like him a lot. I'm not necessarily sure, though, he's just a pure edge guy, but incredible athlete, as you mentioned. We've seen him make a number of plays this season.
Love the versatility, and you mentioned the plays he's made. 3 pass breakups. We've seen him running down the field with tight ends as well. The caveat I always use with the Josh Allen types and the guys that you mentioned, need the defensive coordinator to really buy into that skill set and tap into it. Another edge defender from the SEC, Ja'Kai Polite, who's broken out for Florida this year. Florida had this defensive line that had a bunch of guys who were good, and you didn't know if somebody was going to take the next step, but Polite has been that guy. #4 pass rush grade in the nation, 90.8. What have you seen from him on film?
Well, just the explosiveness. He's about as explosive as I've seen on the edge in college football this year at about 260 pounds. So at NFL size already, he's incredibly explosive. Now the pass rushing skill set, what he does with his arms, his hands, not quite there already. He just, most of the time he's beating tackles with pure athleticism, pure strength. But he's the type of guy to where he's still young, and just the fact that he's doing it in his first year of getting extended playing time, the more we see from him, the more he just continues to rise up our board.
So we've put him up at number 21, and then the last guy to highlight as a riser going from unranked to ranked at number 22 on the draft board, it's Devon White from LSU, a guy that's gotten top 10 hype on other draft boards, but we were slow to buy in. And look, I'm a little cautious with this too, with Devon White. There's some plays that are just wow plays on film, and the explosiveness just really pops on tape, but there's still a consistency question. But I think we've bought in enough to at least place him on the board here this time around.
Yeah, 2 big reasons why I'm a fan of Devon White, why we've moved him into the first round. One, you just see him as a blitzer, just exploding through offensive linemen as well. A lot of green dog blitzes from him where, they're playing man coverage, he sees the back come out, and all of a sudden he goes after the quarterback, gets in his face. He's so quick to do that, and making plays in zone coverage, reacting up to running backs, reacting up to the underneath passes, closes so quickly. That's so big in the NFL today, being able to shut down those check downs instead of having a slower linebacker that goes for 8. You have a guy like, Devon White that goes for 2, that goes for 3. So that's a big thing right there.
Athleticism at linebacker, more important than ever. Of course, you need to have a feel for coverage, and I think White, he misses some tackles. He'll have some missteps in there, but he can make up for it with speed. Very few linebackers have the makeup speed that Devon White brings to the table. That's why he's moved up. So there you have it. It's our draft board risers, the guys that you need to know that are really making a move so far during the first half of the college football season. Of course, it's all been brought to you by Eckrich, the official smoked sausage of the college football playoff. Don't forget, you can get to EckrichFootball.com right now. Check out these games. Sign up for their $1 Million Challenge. The national championship is open to everyone. So get there right now, EckrichFootball.com.